Here's a sneak peek from today's episode.
And then I start to just kind of work backwards. If we're not generating leads, then we start to go into where in our content funnel, so to speak, are we losing people?
Welcome to the Content Amplified podcast, brought to you by Masset. Our goal is to help you get more from your marketing content. Each episode is a 10 to 15 minute interview with industry experts that share amazing insights to help you squeeze as much juice from your content as you possibly can. Here's today's interview.
Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. Today I'm joined by Jayme. Jayme, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ben.
Yeah, Jayme, I'm excited. I think this is going to be a fun conversation. Before we dive in, though, let's get to know you a little bit. If you could share your background, your history, all that kind of fun stuff, that'd be great. And then on top of that, we always ask, what do you love about content and marketing?
Sure. So I'm currently head of marketing at Lead Venture, which is a technology provider that is providing end-to-end technology solutions for dealerships of all retail types, pretty much everybody except franchise automotive. So our passion sports dealers, so power sports, marine, RV, our equipment friends, as well as tire and service and independent auto. So if you're selling a vehicle or parts or garments for that vehicle, we're probably providing the technology that helps service those consumers. My history didn't originate in marketing. I actually got interested in marketing. I quit my sales career of 10 years. I was working at a pharmaceutical company and I took an opportunity to leave and start my own online business. And it was through that, promoting my brands, my products, and getting into various online publications. Influencer, this is kind of right around the time when influencer marketing and blogging and Twitter was really just becoming a thing. I just loved how these platforms were putting you in connection with people you probably would have never met before. Seeing that potential and seeing that potential turn into dollars really is what interests me. So I decided I'm never going to make my millions having a small online home and garden store. So I decided to pursue a career in marketing, which actually started in SEO and digital marketing. And now I've worked my way up into overseeing all functions and capabilities within a marketing team. I would say one of the biggest things I love about content is if you do it well, you can help so many different types of people understand the challenges. And for us as B2B marketers, they're often business challenges. But content, whether it's video, text, audio, your podcast being a big one, is helping inspire different ideas. So, what are different ways of solving different challenges in helping customers do it themselves? So that's a strong trust building strategy for us is let's help them do it themselves. And then when they find success in that, they're going to come back to us. And when they decide they don't want it, they can't, or they need to scale something, they can consider buying the technology. And that's we're with our buyers every step of the way. So for me, it's helping them understand need, addressing the need, and then helping them find the best solution that provides the best value.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, Jayme, your introduction and everything really is a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about. We're going to focus on how we can really put ourselves in our buyer's shoes and create buyer enablement content, buyer content that maps against their specific journey in the process. How do we do this? How do we start? I mean, we all say that we know the customer journey and we're writing content for it, but what does that really mean? How do we really actually perform on that and produce meaningful content for that journey?
Yeah, I mean, you read and hear about this a lot, right? But how do you actually do it? And for many marketers, depending on the type of company and the resources you have available to you, you will achieve this in many different ways. I've worked in large corporations and I've worked for small startups. So at a large corporation, this is often done through, buyer research. Win-loss studies are a great way to understand what is the buyer looking for. And especially if you are a marketer that is working directly with either an internal team or an external research agency, they can help you identify this. So for me, I'm often wanting to understand what is the circumstance that's happening within the business that's starting the purchase process. It often can start with a problem or a change in sales and revenue, or oftentimes around budget season, people are identifying areas of opportunity to scale, cut costs, be more efficient, be more effective. And so this, understanding what is happening in your industry or your customer segment that is kind of starting that purchase process. Because when you can identify that as that moment in time, you can then often find ways to be a part of the conversation at that stage. hey, when this happens to you, this is how you handle it. Or a lot of businesses are trying to understand, okay, we see a problem. What's causing this? So this is where a company very early on in not the sales process, but the buyer research process, right? You got a bunch of decision makers around the table asking themselves, what is happening? Ben, go talk to your salespeople. Why are we not moving cars off the lot? That tends to be more of my vertical. So buyer research, buyer win-loss studies, you can do them formally through a research agency, or you can do them informally through an in-house team. But knowing the questions to ask to say what started this, and then basically what did you do next? How did you understand your problem? Where did you go? What are the things you needed to understand? And then how did you go? What sources did you go to understand what your available solutions were? Did you try to solve this for yourself? Because that's one of the things, just me being in B2B marketing for as long as I have been, is you have to understand that just because a buyer or a potential buyer is experiencing a problem doesn't mean they're looking for your solution. They often try to solve it themselves first. So if you know that, okay, the purchase process can actually be a very lengthy period of time. How do you accelerate it? You can accelerate it by magnifying the need or the cost of not changing. Or you could show examples of many people have done this themselves, and many people trip up and ultimately end up needing a more sophisticated solution. So if you can kind of paint the picture of, yeah, sure, you can solve this yourself, but here's the things you're going to trip up along the way. If you have time and if you can afford it, going this route, oftentimes we're recommending at this stage a technology solution. So at this point, we're not even recommending our products, but we're recommending technology can actually help you solve this quicker, faster, better, and more effectively. So hopefully through those initial stages, our brand content, so not thought leadership per se, but our content is building the trust, not always talking about ourselves all the time. But then once they decide, yeah, I think we need to actually purchase a new platform, or I need to optimize and add on to what I have already today. Once you have them there, and then you can start to position why your product tends to be better or is better than the competition.
I love that. I love that. So when you were actually talking on this podcast, we love to get really, really tactical. So what are the stages of the journey that you break it down into? And you shared a lot of these questions kind of during that last response, but really to just kind of bring that back to the forefront, what are the specific questions that you like to ask yourself to make sure that you're producing, understanding, and building the content that at that stage of the journey is actually going to make an impact on the buyer?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm going to answer that through kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. You're working at a smaller company. You don't have a research department. You don't have the budget for outsourcing research studies. So you have to look internally, who in my company is going to help provide me the following insights. So pre-purchase, again, 5% of your buyers at any given time are ready to buy it. The 95% of them, how do you market to them? So if we think about the things that happen pre-purchase, these are often things of helping your target audience understand what are the goals? What are the trends? Where should you be taking your business? So this is where we work with our internal subject matter experts. So our product owners, our sales leaders, a lot of your executive leadership team who's talking to some of your bigger customers can help you understand where should and where will the end consumer go as the market's changing, as the consumer's changing, whether it's consumer or B2B or B2C. How should business owners be thinking about their business differently? So we can start to create content around that. We can start to create themes and thought leadership that is more of a kind of a visionary and direction. But then there's the vision aspect of this is where you should be going, but then what are the market forces today that are making that really difficult? High interest rates, inflation is rising, consumer confidence is waning. And so these impact a lot of purchase behavior, both in the consumer world and the B2B world. And so this is when you start to talk about hey, we understand this is where you want to go. These are potentially what your current and future business goals are. Here's how the market and the consumer are making that really difficult. Here's what you can do. So again, this is where we start they're not ready for a purchase right now, but this is where we can start to give guidance on how to deal with these challenges within the business. And this is really great for obviously companies that have a lot of resources and a lot of subject matter experts. And so we'll start to talk about these trends. So that way that we're positioning ourselves as the go-to people for guidance on how do I solve for this? once we kind of get into the purchase process, and I talked a little bit about that before, okay, so you don't have win-loss analysis, market analysis, and all that. You don't have a research department that's feeding you all of these insights. What you do is you turn to your customer-facing teams. Hey, what are the challenges that our dealers are facing right now? What sparked the interest in a demo? Why did they come to you? What were they interested in? What questions did they ask you? Do they come to these conversations with preconceived notions of what they think they want, or are they really looking to us for guidance on what that should be? And then we talk to our top salespeople, our top customer success people, is like, how are we winning with these customers? And this is where we start to create content that is not only highlighting the attributes about the product that is most important to our buyer, but then we start to lean more into the brand attributes and the brand drivers that helps people make a decision on, well, who should I do business with? Who should I buy this from? And then post-purchase, this is a world where maybe some marketers, play and do more customer marketing, or maybe more it's where it's kind of the handoff transition for more customer operations. I've lived in both worlds, but for smaller marketing teams, if you may not be doing a lot of that customer enablement, I think the transition from a very high touch, high engaging sales experience, you can help with the transition over to customer and in onboarding. So if we know that these are the things that customers will need to know in order to be successful, and or potentially waiting for the onboarding team to engage with them, let's just create a simple nurture. Welcome to the company. Here's what you can expect from us while you're waiting, or, while you're getting started. Here's the things you'll need to know. Here's good ways to get organized. You can start to introduce them into some of the more customer-friendly tools like the Help Center, the customer webinars, the quick tips videos. This is a great way to show what's available to them, even though they might not quite need it yet. So that's just kind of in a quick snapshot, the different ways in which the different things we're looking to understand about our prospective buyers, or even our customers who are potential buyers, and the different sources and questions we ask in order to tailor our content across those stages.
I love that. And these podcasts are meant to be quick, so we're running out of time. I just have one final question for you, Jayme. As you're implementing this, so you're using your subject matter experts inside your business, we're talking directly to consumers, you're looking at pre-purchase and the purchase and post-purchase, and you've created the content. You've created what you think will help guide the customer through this journey. How are you measuring and refining and improving? It's not just the set it and forget it, I'm assuming. How do you make improvements over time and know where bottlenecks may exist or where opportunities for improvement may lie?
That's a great question, and I will try to answer this quickly.
Oh, you're totally fine. Yeah.
Yes. So, in marketing, and especially in the digital age of marketing, you can measure a lot of things, but that doesn't mean you should, right? So I often try to help my team understand, begin with the end in mind. Otherwise, they will just literally measure everything, right? All the way from vanity metrics to clicks and conversions that don't really give you an idea of is this working ultimately? Is this what's driving, new sales bookings? So first of all, we would want to understand, of the marketing qualified leads that we're generating, are they actually converting into sales? That's the first indicator that if they're not converting into sales opportunities. So that if that part of your pipeline performance is not working, the first place to start is to go to your sales team. We have one of the higher converting, at least in my experience and what I can read online, our MQL to SQL conversion is over 40%. And that's
great.
Because I am just having come from a sales background and having dipped my toes into sales operations, working with your sales team to understand what kind of people do you want to talk to and when do you think is the right time. There's a bunch of acronyms out there, BANT, that can help you identify it. But if you're not having that conversation with your sales team and defining it together, a lot of your leads will go unnoticed or untouched. So that's kind of the first place I start. And then I start to just kind of work backwards. If we're not generating leads, then we start to go into where in our content funnel, so to speak, are we losing people? So oftentimes we can see in earlier stage funnel, downloads of a top of funnel content piece. There's a ton of interest there, or it's a big traffic driver. So we see people going from our third party digital channels, whatever they may be, driving traffic to the website and then nothing, right? So then this is where we're looking at landing page conversions. So, okay, why are we not generating leads? Well, conversion rates are down. Or we might take a look at the various conversion rates within our customer segments. Some things are resonating better than others. Bounce rate it's not a performance metric, but it's a very surefire way to show that your message in your ad is not resonating with the content on the page. So if you have a bounce rate that's over 60%, you and your content team and your digital team need to get together and making sure that those ad messages and the landing page messages are in sync. Beyond that, it's honestly, we're looking at a lot of, are we reaching the right customers? Because we have smaller budgets in my current company, we have to really make sure that every ad impression we're buying is hopefully going to convert into a website visit, a form conversion, and a marketing lead. What we can do with some account-based advertising platforms is, do we see certain segments? Are we reaching the target audience? Are we engaging that target audience? So for example, we know in our power sports industry, because we're much more well-known, we tend to get higher engagements. If we don't see any agriculture MQLs coming through our content pipeline, we often look at, are we reaching the right target segments in agriculture? If there's no engagement there, and honestly, what I already know is we're a brand that is not well known. We might need to reset expectations with leadership. I know that agriculture is a growth vertical for us, but we've never marketed to these folks and they don't know our brand. So we think we need to not do MQLs as a goal. We need to do account reach and account engagement. So that needs to be our short-term goal in the beginning. Once we can kind of get those to an acceptable rate, then we can start to look more into the pipeline goals like MQLs and SQLs.
Love it. Jayme, again, this has been awesome. I love the way you look at content. I love how you put yourself in your consumer's shoes and ask yourself the right questions and go to the right sources. How you measure and refine and figure it out. I think it's a lesson for all of us. So thank you for sharing. If anyone wants to reach out and connect with you online, how and where can they find you?
LinkedIn is the best way. So Jayme Jenkins. I don't think I'm the only one, but that's the best way to find me.
Love it. And for anyone listening, we will link to Jayme's profile in the show notes below. So just scroll down and click on that to connect with her. Jayme, again, thank you so much for the time and all the insights today. We really appreciate it.
It's been really fun. Appreciate it, Ben.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to the Content Amplified podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And for additional ways to get more out of your content, visit our website at getmasset.com. That's getmasset.com. And tune in next time to the Content Amplified podcast.